welcome to the Saturday Night Live Afterparty. This week, we'll be discussing Season 47, Episode 17 of SNL with host Jake Gyllenhaal and musical guest Camila Cabello. I'm Catherine Coleman, and I am joined this week by the irreplaceable Steve Finn. If you'd like to connect with either of us, you can do so at snlpodcast.com. All right, here we go. Woo! We're here. We're ready to discuss a literally very messy episode of SNL. It was a big night for hoses, sprayers, and stagehands. Steve, how you doing? You excited about it?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, I got to say I enjoyed myself with this episode. So it should be a half decent, interesting chat, I think.
Half. We can't promise a fully interesting chat, but we can promise at least a half interesting chat.
And although they made no reference to the beef with Taylor Swift, I have a feeling it's going to come up anyway. But that's
I intend to mention it in every sketch review.
Right. Yes, I'm prepared to listen to lend an ear.
This will be a 4-hour long episode, mostly about Taylor Swift. So buckle up. All right, well, let's get into this cold open, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
New Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson is visited by those who paved the way for her. Steve, what'd you think of this cold open?
I really enjoyed this. You know, it was, I think, the best kind of idea to bring to the screen based on what's been going on. Justice Jackson, I guess you could call her. It's pretty big deal for the Black community, and I think they did a great job of kind of bringing us through the struggles of people of color, you know, in American history. And yeah, I guess it's a great excuse to bring back Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I always think about how, like, when, you know, cast members have a really good impression, they must be bummed out for a couple of reasons. You know, obviously there's a lot of respect there. They're probably sad to see someone like Ginsburg pass away, but it's also like, oh, you know, I'm not going to have as many opportunities to play her anymore. So
right.
I can kind of
see.
Yeah,
I would imagine this is likely the last of the Ginsburg impressions we'll see.
Yeah, we got one last Ginsburg.
Yes.
To deal with, which is nice. And aside from that, I think Chris Redd was a particular funny part of this. I enjoyed his character. But yeah, it was I think it was a nice cold open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a really fun premise. Like you said, you know, it's an interesting angle to take because Ketanji Brown Jackson is in a very unique position, right? So she's going to historic people asking for like what their specific advice would be. You know, what's your advice as a woman? What's your advice as a person of color? And I think that's really interesting, but I don't feel like they found the most specific or heightened things for those people to say. Like Harriet Tubman's beat was the best to me, as far as she had a really clear point of view, as far as saying like, that feels like a trap, or are we in trouble? So I just wish that some of those other characters had been as strong as I felt that the Harriet Tubman character was to really bring this to the next level.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was really astute, you know, the way that they kind of alluded to what someone who grew up with slavery, how they would look at a job that lasted your whole life. I thought that was a funny observation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the reasons I thought this worked really well. Was good writing.
Okay, well, let's talk about the monologue. Jake has been here before, and it's all coming back to him now. I'm not a singer, so forgive me, but I liked this. I really, really love the "It's all coming back to me now" TikTok trend that I assume this took some inspiration from. But sadly, it didn't hit as hard for me as some of the TikToks do. Because like I would have loved it if he started and they had some of those little SNL jokes in the lead up, and then it gets to the big part, and he gets hit with a fan, gets like a new mic, like and then like they do rip off the suit and he's like in a dress. I think that could have been so good because SNL has the budget and the professionals to elevate something that people are doing on TikTok and make the best possible version of it. But then like they didn't do that, so I was a little disappointed. But aside from the song, the entire first part of the monologue I loved. His commentary on like acting is silly and like his jokes about Nightcrawler were all great. So even though it didn't end on a high note for me, I did think it was a pretty enjoyable monologue. What'd you think?
I guess I was the same as you and expecting him to have that suit pulled off. Because I mean,
Mhm.
they brought back the backup dancers from the 2007
Right.
episode, and they had everything in place. I thought they were just setting up. I thought they were clearing the air when they mentioned like how problematic it was back then. I
Mhm.
thought they were just mentioning that so they could get away with having him do it then.
Right.
But they never. And
And they
yeah,
even had that really long close up on him where I thought they were maybe doing something under the camera, out of frame, and but it wasn't.
I think there was a version of this where he did change into a dress, and then they thought, you know what? No, we're better than that. But whatever. I'm. I will say I enjoyed Jake's comedic abilities here, and I kind of got a sense of that. I guess I have to thank John Mulaney for showing me, what he could do as a comedic performer because he doesn't really take on any roles really. I mean,
Right.
maybe Bubble Boy or something, but that's way back in his career. Uh, yeah, just surprising to hear him like hit that high note in All Coming Back to Me Now and really killing it because I don't think that would have been funny or watchable at all if he didn't hit that note, right? Like if he was way off, I would have been cringing too hard to enjoy it. But that's what I love about like, you know, I think comedy needs to get credit for that because you have to build a whole bunch of other skills to support your comedic voice. You know, some people learn to sing to become a singer. Other people learn to sing so they could use it as a tool in comedy. And I think I think there's no discipline that you can't study that won't improve the, the laughs you can get when you're in a comedic sphere. So I think this is a good example of that lesson.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, there's no special skill that, we can't find a way to use for comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so something to like in the monologue for sure, even if it's not Jake Gyllenhaal in a dress. Let's get into some more sketches. Why'd you like that? A game show that reveals that we all just wanna get laid. Steve, was this a win?
I think so. I'm enjoying
You
the
don't sound convinced.
well, yeah. I mean, I think we're getting game show fatigue at this point. Um, I do feel like they're creative premises that don't
Mhm.
immediately yell out game show when you think of them, but hey, it's a way to make it work. Chris Red again, a
Mhm.
great addition to this. Whenever he would say pass with that delivery, I was just dying.
So good.
Yeah. But I think you got the real beauty of it in that intro of yours is like, if you just dig enough, everybody's, clicking like on these pics for the same reason because we just all want to chase that unlikely scenario of getting laid. Yeah, people be lonely. And yeah, they made the right call and like kind of alluding to the fact that maybe screen detox is a good thing, getting off of
Right.
social media, even if for the characters it lasts like a single camera cut. But yeah, but I think we could all take that lesson from it either way.
Yeah, I love a good game show sketch. You know what? We've gotten a lot of them recently, but I'm still on board for it. I know we discussed last week some of the effectiveness, maybe some of the sloppiness that a game show can bring. But I mulled it over, and I've decided that I stand by the game show. That I think it's a nice package for weird concepts like this. Um,
Yeah,
and
for
I
sure.
really like the premise of this one. Like I think why'd you like that? It's so great. When Keenan said what the show was, it was a big laugh for me. And then Jake's character just wanted to get laid. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's funny. And I like that um it wasn't just why'd you like this? And like he says a few things, he's like, oh well, it's got boobs in it. And like that's the reason I like that they continued to dig. Like
Yeah,
Keenan like kept arguing with him. I thought that was really fun. I thought that was really clever. Um but then I ended up kind of being disappointed that all three of them wanted to get laid. And I realized that's sort of the commentary they were trying to make. But by the time we got to Chloe, I knew what she was going to say. So it didn't feel quite as heightened. It felt kind of repetitive. Um, I think they could have, and they did layer on a little bit. So like Chloe's way was more indirect through like her ex-boyfriend's sister, right?
right.
So like I had some fun with that, but I do just wonder like what could have what other kooky reasons could we have had that might have made this feel a little bit more heightened.
Yeah.
Um,
The heightening was definitely within the trying to get laid thing and just like expanding the
mhm,
logic train to get there.
right.
But yeah, arguably not
Yeah.
enough.
Right. And so it felt like a really great premise that didn't for me fully deliver. But
Yes.
like you said, Chris Red killed it. He was just excellent in this.
Yeah.
Uh, a theme for the night, I think, actually, from cold open to here, and we'll talk about some more later. But Chris Red was on bringing his A game to everything.
Yeah. I'm loving him tonight.
Okay, so game show, promising premise and something to like, but maybe not fully where we would have liked to have seen it go. Let's keep going. The cousins have built this woman her dream home with just a few small changes to accommodate her mother-in-law. I loved this. I loved it. I I love that it starts out as such a straightforward parody of HGTV. You know, it's like this woman and her milquetoast husband, and the hosts are related and think they're witty. And then it's just this curveball of the mother-in-law and her 27-year-old cat. Um, and I thought there were such funny specific details and like she thought it'd be better to have the medical equipment for the cat. The cat has a chair lift. Like all of that stuff was great. And then it layered again the old lady becoming more and more deranged, all the way up to asking her son to hit his wife. Like all of Kate's one liners were amazing. And I just thought this started in such a good grounded place and then reached such a crazily heightened place. I loved everything about it. Did it hit for you as much as it did for me?
Oh, for sure. And yes, it was first of all set up really well as a HGTV show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, the those little tilts they do up and down and like the music, it
Mm-hmm.
was all very spot on. Jake didn't even look like a real person, like the way he was done up. It was really eerie. Uh
Yeah, it looked like he had just the world's worst facelift.
but yeah, their cousin dynamic was making me laugh before we
Mhm.
even got to the real meat of this. And that's, just seeing the dynamics of a family that's just ruined by a man's, total fear of his mother.
Right.
And this was, first of all, James Austin Johnson, knocking out of the park with very little. This is very a
Mhm.
less is more situation. Uh, and I thought his little subtle performance was just brilliant. But that
Parking crouch.
prop, that prop that they made for that cat is just
Oh, man.
amazing. And it reminds me of like when you're making like a film or a short or something, and you get something that you really need for the shoot, and it's like it's
Mhm.
going to be like your centerpiece, and you get it, and it just rejuvenates your whole passion for the project. I feel like that's
Mhm.
what they were feeling when like that cat was finished and that puppet came in. They're like, yes, this is going to be
This
amazing,
is it. Yeah.
because like you just look at that thing and you're laughing. You don't even have to
Mhm.
put it in a sketch. Just show that and you're getting solid laughs. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, Kate was amazing in this. Just like all of her old school values coming through, and you know, uh, the like you said, the elevating uh, hostility towards the daughter-in-law. It was so
Mhm.
great. But that's what was great about this is that it's HGTV trying their best to make a show in spite of like having a family that's just not cut out for
Right.
it.
Like, nothing about Heidi was the only member of the family that was prepared for this situation, and then they still screwed even her over.
Well, that's the thing. Like her on her own would be like the perfect person. Like she clearly has a vision for what she wants,
Mhm.
and like just everyone she's let into her life doesn't allow her to have that. It's great.
Okay, so a really big win on this one. Let's talk about the next one. Not all dinners can be steak, and these singers four are here to celebrate that. Steve, where'd you land on this?
I really liked it. Just from the whole concept of the singers for uh it's just the worst name. A terrible
Right?
name. But it just sells like the corniness of them right away. So I think it does its job well. uh Kind of made me feel old watching this because like some of these like not so not so great accomplishments they're talking about. I'm like, wow, that's really great. He cleans a part of his shower every time he goes in there. That's a good idea. I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No,
Chicken.
making the bed's hard.
His chicken is never dry. I got to talk to this guy. He's got good knowledge of chicken cooking. Like that's how I was reacting to this. So I guess this is the sketch for me. Uh, yeah, not everybody reaches for the stars, and I think sometimes they need a sketch too. I hate to bore you.
Something for the losers among us, if you will.
Something for the losers among us. Yes.
Uh, okay. Well, I like the idea of this. I like the idea that they're celebrating the little wins. Like you said, I think that is interesting. I don't know that a cabaret group's the best vehicle for it. And then it also got confusing because it became this thing they kept saying, and that's my thing for me.
Yeah.
So the things they were saying shifted in a way because it started out like so Jake's bit about how every month he calls off work for a day and goes to the movies and that's his thing for him, right? That feels like a little bit different of a game than Kate saying, "I made up my bed every day this week." Like that one of those things is like celebrating the mediocre and one of them is like I did something for me.
Right.
And, like, so I did feel like there was some confusion and maybe, like, a lack of focus on some of the things. But each individual line was specific and funny. They just didn't quite coalesce into a sketch I loved.
I think. Well, I think for the calling and sick and going to the movies thing is like the thrill of something that's in the grand
It's
scheme of
so
things
mundane.
it's mundane, but like for someone like that it would be the thrill of the year probably. you know
Maybe, yeah.
but I see, yeah, it seems to be a different idea than where they
Mhm.
got some of these other things. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it need a more they needed more rules for it.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Alright, so a mixed review on The Singers 4. Let's talk about the next one. A day in the life of beautiful spring flowers that now smell like dog pee. Was this one a win?
Yeah, this was for a lot of reasons. It was a funny idea. There was a lot of production that went into it. Everybody had a lot to contribute to this. There was, like you said, there is lots of spraying and mess being made. Uh, but those costumes were so beautiful and so, yeah, and they fit them really well. And I was almost fooled by the scale of it. Like when they would cut to Keenan in the big garden bed and they'd cut back to them, like it almost felt like they were zooming down
Mhm.
or zooming into like a much smaller part of the set. The eye lines were matching up. Yeah, I don't usually get that kind of immersion in a live sketch, so I'm happy for that. Once again, Chris Red killing it,
Mhm.
being having just like a different attitude from the rest of them with what's going on, and yeah, I liked how bashfully he played it, but it makes sense because he was just a little bud moments ago, so he's kind of like
That's true.
more naive, I guess, is the idea here. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just thought this was a lot of fun. It even had dogs. It even had dogs in it. Eh?
Even had dogs.
Like there was so much going on for just this simple little story, and like there was a song written, and it was very cute. I just thought they
Mhm.
they really nailed everything they were going for. So yes,
I do think
they
it's funny that they had a cat puppet where the only thing a real cat would have had to do was sit there. But they were like, "You know what? We need a live dog and we do have to make it pee on command. We can't
well
have a puppet for that."
well that was a regular healthy dog versus like a cat that's supposed to be so close to death that if you found a cat that sick, you wouldn't want to move it to put it on camera in a sketch, right? It would probably die right
True.
there.
Um, yeah, I like what you said about the technical aspects of it. You're right. That is something to appreciate because there was a lot going on here technically with like, that's two different sets. We had Bowen in like a green screen suit so that you could only see the B part of his costume. Like there's a lot happening here that should be appreciated. Um, from more of just like the writing standpoint, I thought it was just okay. Um, like, I like the perspective of it as far as all the things that can go wrong for a flower in the day, but I didn't feel like it had as many jokes as it needed to. So, like, all of these circumstances are funny, but I wanted it to layer on top of each other or reach just more chaos at the end where multiple things were happening at once. Um, because Chris Red was the best part of this, and part of that's because Chris Red is amazing, but part of that is because they gave that that flower character more lines and more of a personality than the other ones.
Yeah,
Um, so Chris stole the scene, and I wish that each of the flowers had maybe had more personality to them. So like that could have been something that layered in there. Um, but yeah, like you're right. It is a win, definitely from like the technical perspective.
for sure.
And I did love the Jake Flower Hall joke that that was
Yes.
his flower's name. It's funny.
I love that too. I missed that on the first watch. On the rewatch, I caught it. I enjoyed that. Yeah, just make him a flower version of the host. Why not?
Right. Okay, so probably enough on that one. Let's move on to how dare you compare Chucky to Janet, who we all know sucks. What'd you think of this one?
Uh, it was amazing. I will say that, and it says a lot of things to me. But I guess let's just talk about the sketch first. Uh, I love the setup of this. I love how they just were, backbiting about Janet. It was all Janet, 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 Janet. Janet sucks. Janet does this. Janet eats tuna. And then there's just a throwaway line about how she's like Chucky right before like you hear the rustling. And of course you're gonna think it's Janet.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chucky comes out and it's just like, okay, this nobody was expecting this. What the hell? It was like the whole premise was just set up to fool you in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, it just took a turn and then went with it for the rest of the sketch and didn't slow down, which I loved. Uh, the This is another well produced sketch,
Mm-hmm.
and what I love about it is that Sarah can already command this kind of scale of production with her ideas. Like, this is beyond Meatball Man, which had a
Which
lot of
was already a
animation.
technical masterpiece.
Yeah, but now we have dudes in like full green screen suits, like working puppets, and uh, we're really going all in on Sarah Sherman's ideas, and
Mhm.
that's something that uh, you wouldn't necessarily expect from someone so new. But like, I can't think of something more ambitious than this in a long time.
Yeah, this is definitely a production masterpiece. Like you said, we got men in green screen suits puppeting that we have to key out. We've got the actual doll head that we have to track the motion on to put Sarah's head on it. And then we have to eat all of that stuff. Like that's a lot. And I saw like we know that typically they film on Friday, but I did see like confirmed on Instagram that they did all of it in 24 hours. Uh
That's
so
insane.
so to and that's like film it and then like edit it. I think. Like wow, that's like something that should take 2 or 3 weeks to edit, but they do it in a day, and that is incredible.
Yes.
Um, as for, like, the sketch itself, I love that it turned my expectation on its head because, like you said, they're trash talking Janet, and I'm like, "Oh, she's gonna be in the stall. She's gotta be in one of these stalls." The toilet flushes, I'm like, "Okay, here we go." Um, but then it's Chucky, and Chucky is offended at being compared to Janet, and that is so funny. She is so awful that like Chucky, the evil doll, is that's too far. I think that is so, so, so funny. And then, they get to the HR meeting and they keep piling on Janet there for a second. So like the boss is like, we know she sucks, and then she's there. I think that's so great. Uh, but then it's sort of I wouldn't say fizzled out, but it tapered off a little bit for me because it became more about what would Chucky do in the workplace and less about this twist of Janet sucking worse than Chucky, which to me was the really smart thing here. Um, so that like, I mean that's a really small thing. Like there was plenty of fun to be had here. That initial reveal was just I think kind of hard to overcome because that is so funny for Chucky to walk out.
You know what I love though is when she was in the chair. I say she, but I'm referring to Chucky, who is a he. Uh,
Right.
the way he'd like bounce around while he talked, and like the
Mhm.
head was tracking on that. Just those movements were hilarious.
Mhm.
I felt like they really worked on that. It's like, how does Chucky act like with what we
Right.
have to use here? Uh, yeah, it was really fun, and
Because it
that
would have been so easy for him to just sit still and, like, as the viewer, we wouldn't have been like, "Why is the doll still?" Like, it would have been totally fine, but they said, "It'll be better if he moves."
yeah. Well, whatever I guess it's streamlined now because whatever they had to figure out to do the meatballs on her body,
Mhm.
they now have a pretty good understanding on how to track things.
Yeah,
And
and
yeah,
do it quickly.
that seems to be much easier these days with the programs available. So
Mhm.
yeah, well,
It
well,
still takes a lot of time, though. Like, I've done some stuff where I had to, like, track motion, and the program does a lot of it, but there's still a good bit where it gets a little messy, and then you have to go frame by frame for a little while adjusting things, like, it's very you have to be pretty nitpicky with it.
yeah, you get an assist, but yeah, you're gonna
Mhm.
spend some time fine tuning it.
Yeah. Cool. So, pretty big win on Chucky. Let's talk about some musical performances. Camila Cabello performs Bam Bam and Psychofreak featuring, oh no, this makes update pretty awkward. Willow Smith. Steve, were you a fan?
uh, Not really. That first song, what's it called? Bam Bam.
Mm-hmm.
Bam Bam. Oh. I
Bam
heard that
Bam.
on the radio as a duet with Ed Sheeran, and I didn't like it then. I don't know. The melody was kind of annoying to me, I guess, but it wasn't really my cup of tea. Uh, I guess it was really high energy. The dancing was really fun
Mhm.
and yeah, sure. The production was really well done. Everybody obviously was well rehearsed. I just that songwriting is just not for me, man. Willow Smith, I'm surprised that she could really sing. I didn't know that was Willow Smith until the Good Nights, but uh, I remember thinking that lady there can really sing. She's not playing much guitar, but she's really belting out those vocals.
Mhm.
And yeah, turns out it was Willow Smith. I did not recognize her because she had no hair to whip back and forth.
Right. Uh, yeah, so this, like you said, the first song I was mostly enjoying the dancers. That was fun. But the song itself just had nothing memorable about it to me. I could not tell you how the chorus goes, and just watched it 2 hours ago. Like, I I and that's, like, the number one thing a good pop song needs is a catchy hook, and this did not have it. So, uh, not much there. The second song, though, I really, really enjoyed. I thought that was, pretty catchy, pretty fun. Uh, Willow Smith stole the show a little bit. Um, Big good vibes there. I really loved that performance. That one was really enjoyable, but that first one is just
Eh,
swing and a miss as far as
eh,
I'm concerned.
yeah, I mean, you know, the only thing, to really enjoy for me is just the high energy.
Yeah.
There's I really like Latin dancing. It's lots of footwork,
Mhm.
lots of hustling. It's a good time
Yeah. The dancing was definitely the highlight.
for sure.
Alright, well, let's get into update. For their lead-in, Jost and Shay discussed newly confirmed Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Was this a solid outing for you?
I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a bit of a mishmash of Kataji Jackson and some ongoing stuff about the Will Smith fiasco.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I thought the jokes were good. You could kind of tell that they cut a weekend update feature because they went straight from the headlines into like the more current affairs type stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so that was it was not really a noticeable transition. I'm not sure where where it was there, but yeah, they kind of just blended into that second half. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, this isn't my favorite outing of Weekend Update ever, but I thought it was serviceable
That's fair. I liked this outing. I thought their political stuff was good. Competent's a good word for it. But they also made room for those silly things, like you were saying. Usually, if we get some really silly headlines, they do usually come after that feature. Um, but we don't always get to the silly ones. Sometimes there's just so much political stuff that it really stays in that realm. But this got to Silly Town. It got to the Lucky Charms and the alligator and the personal injury lawyer. And that's always the stuff that I like the most. Like I do love good political commentary, and they've had some fabulous jokes, but the fun stuff is really what I wanna see, like, because you take an already crazy headline and just make it that much funnier, I think is just a good time, and these are headlines that you would never see normally, like, you have to be really, like, trolling the archives of some newspapers to
Yeah,
get to these, uh, so I don't know, I just I that's always been the stuff that I liked the most,
for
so I was
sure.
glad to see more of that this time.
That's I will agree with that. Those little silly headlines in the second half.
Mhm.
I never read about these before
Right.
they make it to SNL. They're so good at finding these weird little news stories.
No.
Yeah, and tragically suspicious is probably the funniest rhyme to make with that that
Yeah.
slogan. God, was that ever good?
So decently high marks on, Jost and Shay. Let's talk about this feature. The trend forecasters are back, and this time they're ousting shake weights, derby hats, and Michael Che. Was this a welcome repeat?
Sure, it's a welcome repeat. Uh, it lost a little bit of something. on the way, I think, from the first outing to this one. It was definitely an idea worth revisiting. And
Mhm.
it may not have reached the heights of the first one, but it was still really good. And these characters are imaginative and really just fun to watch. I'll uh I'll welcome, several more of these if they got the ideas for it. Uh makes me makes me wish there was more Bowen 80 material. They don't do a lot together, but this is a really nice partnership they have on this sketch. And they play off each other so well with the slapping of the table and yeah, I just love the intensity of this over ridiculous things. Like it's such a Bowen idea, and it allows for so many Bowen craziness to come out. It's
Mhm.
just yeah, it's a fun little vehicle for silliness.
Yeah, I love the trend forecasters. Their first appearance is maybe my favorite feature of the season. But like you said, I do think it lost a little of the magic just because they hit the same beats. Um, why do you send them to bed? All that stuff. Uh, and then I mean, it is nice. The actual trends they say that's refillable. That's infinitely refillable,
Yeah,
and so that is fun. Those the new things they found were funny. I liked those. But I just wish they would have added to it in some way, though. Like you said last week, they're sort of casting a wide net, right? Because the fact of the matter is that most people don't watch SNL week in and week out like we do.
right.
So there's a good chance that someone watching this was their first time seeing the trend forecasters and they were delighted by it. So I can't really blame them for wanting to do it again. Like I have some qualms about, yeah, but you could like change it up a little bit for me who watches it all the time and remembers it. But I can understand why they don't necessarily feel the need to. So I'm just like a little torn on it of like it was funny. There were some good things here, but like I don't know. I've seen it before, right?
Yeah. I don't I don't know if they should be doing sounds as one of the trends because
I don't know. I
it's
liked the
making them
sounds.
deviate. I don't know. Like part of what's making this hilarious for me is the delivery of lines, that very
Mhm.
damning tone that they put on. So when you're doing sound effects, you can't really do that. Uh, I felt it was just messing with the tone of it.
I don't know. I think that
But
juxtaposition is sort of part of what makes it funny. Is like it's usually just like the way they deliver it, but then it's like in. Like, I just think that that's like so not at all what you expect. So I don't know. I was here for the sounds.
okay.
Okay, so trend forecasters mixed reviews. Let's get into the back half of this show. Doc Holliday turns this Western bar into a super spreader event. Where'd you land on this one?
I landed in favor of it, I suppose. Just some fun, gross me out humor. This is every bit as fun as Dan Aykroyd doing Julia Child. It's just sometimes it's nice to just play in the mud and get messy. There's something so basically I don't know, it harkens back to your childhood, playing in the
Mhm.
sandbox, just getting your hands dirty. There's something that I think we can all find joy in, even if it's, you know, blood and mucus in this case. Uh, it's a funny premise. I enjoyed the bookend of Cecily's strange host character, but I also enjoyed, everybody that was observing this, like Keenan keeping his hands out of the peanut bowl was great. Um, just the whole idea that like nobody is fooled here. Uh, I've never seen what is it? Tombstone? Is that the movie
I think so,
or
yeah. I
Wyatt
haven't seen
Earp?
it either.
Or I don't know. It's
I think
Val
Tombstone.
Kilmer. Val Kilmer played this guy in a movie, and I'm guessing I've never seen it, but like the jokes must be coming from the fact that he was like very obviously sick in some scenes, like more
Mhm.
so than you could get away with. which is kind of like sometimes what they do in cinema. Like if someone's telling a lie and they want the audience to know he's going to be a really bad liar, it's things like
Mhm.
that. That is just my guess because I've never actually seen the movie. Have you seen it? Do you know
I
anything
have
more than I
not.
do?
I have not, but I do believe the character has tuberculosis in the movie.
Right.
Uh, right, and it's like he looks bad.
I mean, that one picture they showed of him, I'm like, okay, that's a sick dude. Who's he hiding that
Yeah.
from?
Yeah, I have sort of mixed feelings on this one. It has some stuff to like, but I don't know, it didn't have a lot to love. I don't know. I think the theme of this episode for me is like, wow, this had a lot of great moments, but not necessarily great sketches. So like this one, it's an interesting premise, and it is honestly it's executed fine. Like I don't have notes for it. I don't know like what I would do to make it better. I love the blood spewing. I love all that stuff. I love that the wardrobe I had to make 2 to 3 full sets of costumes for this. 'Cause it's not like you played that at dress rehearsal, cleaned it, and put it on. Like everyone needed 2 sets of clothes that
Yeah,
were identical. Um, so I think there's some stuff here. It's just like it's missing something that I can't put my finger on, and honestly, it might just be that, like, I thought, like, Update was good. The trend forecasters, I was like, "Oh, those are the same." Like, I didn't really like Camila's first performance. So, like, it might have just been the energy of the show dipped here for me.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't know, it was just sort of middle of the road.
for sure.
Okay, well, up next, when it comes to this couple's therapist, do as she says, not as she does. This is another mixed one for me. I like the concept. I like a couples therapist having relationship drama in session. I think there's a lot of ways to go from there. I think that's fun. I love seeing how she'll kind of manipulate those things to be useful for the clients. Like she gets these texts and she's like, "Why don't you tell me how you would react?" Like I think that's fun. Like kind of manipulating that circumstance and seeing how she's going to do that. But I don't know. I have a lot of questions. Like why wouldn't this person put her phone on silent? Why does Ego have a water gun? Like it just seemed like so random, and I was just like, "But why?" So like again, a promising premise with fun stuff in it, and I thought like Jake Gyllenhaal had a really good performance in this, but just not a total win. What do you
Okay.
think? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The premise for me was like I was trying to figure it out for a while because it was like, okay, she's getting calls. Is this the joke that like she's in no place to be giving advice because
Mhm.
her relationship's on the rocks, or like is the joke that these people are expected to talk these things out while under the threat of gunfire? Like
Right.
either way, I just had fun with the escalation of it, and
Mhm.
uh the way that they were getting sucked into it, like there's three of us here, we're all strapping. They're like, are we strapping? No, we're not strapping. Like that
What does
that
that
was
mean?
great. Yeah. The fact that they were going roped into it, then being asked to read text and stuff.
Mhm.
I wish just Melissa was more active in the whole
Mhm.
playing out with it, because I don't know. I don't see a reason why there couldn't be a share. Like I know Jake's the host, but Melissa's right there as well. Like she could have been part of the text reading. Um, because that's the thing. Like Melissa's getting some screen time in this episode, which is nice to see, but it's very much just to fill a role, and it's not
Mhm.
really using her to be funny. Uh, and I think there could have been something there in both of them down on the floor, like comforting each other or holding each other. I won't get into like trying to rewrite the sketch, but yeah, it was. I feel like she was just there to like kind of like come out the other end and be like, "Are we cured now?" Which was
Mhm.
an awkward, an awkward role to have when you're in the whole sketch before that.
So, mixed reviews again. Let's talk about our last sketch. Are all these songs about pee? A guide to classic truck stop CDs. Once again, I have some questions. I'm
I
starting
don't
to feel
blame
like
you.
I was grumpy. Was I just in a bad mood? I don't know. But like, is this a commercial or is it not? I don't know because it definitely doesn't start off as a commercial. It's just like two people in the truck stop, like, haha, who buys CDs? But then by the end, it is definitely a commercial.
It is.
So like, it's just I was confused about what was happening. Were Kyle and Ego somehow part of this commercial? How were they hearing these songs? Because they commented on the songs, but they couldn't see the people in the truck singing it. Um, and like, am I overthinking it? Maybe, but it all could have just been cleaned up with a setup sort of like like the Will Forte, Kristen Wiig singing sketch. Just like make 80 the announcer, basically. And like, now that's what I call truck songs features these, whatever. Like, I just like, I wish if it's going to be a commercial, make it a commercial. So like I just got really in the weeds with that. But all of the truck songs were funny. I loved the horn honking song. I thought that was so good. That's like I've never heard that before. And there were good performances here, but I got really hung up on the commercial bit. So maybe that's on me. But how did you feel about it?
Well, that was the part I enjoyed, the fact that they just stumbled their way into a commercial and then they
Mhm.
weren't able to leave. Like, can we slide through? No, we're
No, we're
ignoring
filming.
that. You're in the commercial now. Uh, yeah, that it was a very small part of it, but I enjoyed that. And yeah, it felt like it was going to go a totally different spot. I thought they were just going to make fun of truck stops, and we were going to get a whole like,
Mhm.
bodega bathroom type
Right.
of sketch, that we make fun of like gross things in a truck stop. But this was welcome. A strange way to get to that intro, but I just enjoyed it. I love the fact that people were there against their will, listening to music that I guess only truckers would want to listen to. But I
Right.
feel like that's an insult to truckers to say. What I think really worked well for this was the short length of the songs, because
Mhm.
before I even had a chance to laugh, these songs were over. Like that first one where he's like, "I'll pee it in a cup and I'll pee it in a thermos and I'll pee it in the window." Like
Mhm.
it goes so fast. By the time it's done, I haven't laughed yet. And so now I have this release where I'm just laughing at everything I heard, and just like the repetition of peeing and things catches up to me.
Mhm.
It kind of reminds me of like when you watch a breakdancer and they do all those crazy spinny moves and you're like, whoa. And you don't really react until like he stalls. And then everybody goes,
Uh-huh.
whoa. That's how I felt with these songs, because they'd like throw all this ridiculous crap at me. And before I have a chance to react, it's over. And then I'm just
Mhm.
laughing in silence at nothing.
Fair enough. So is your headcanon is that they were going to film this commercial and then Kyle and Ego just walk up and they're like, "Oh shit, now we're in the commercial," and then it proceeds to be a commercial?
Yeah, like city folk just too polite to assert themselves. And like if someone won't get out of their way so they can pass, they're just like, I guess we're in the commercial now. And you see
Okay.
them like towards the end, like try to scurry away in the background when they get a chance.
Mhm.
Uh yeah, without so much as a line doing it. I liked how they
Maybe I'll give it a rewatch and forgive that part of it and see what fun I can have.
yeah, now that you now that you've accepted it as part of the sketch, just see how it plays out.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, so stuff to like here. The songs were definitely a good time.
Yeah, they were.
All right. That's the end of the rundown. Let's talk about these overall thoughts. What's your moment of the night?
You know what I loved was James Austin Johnson's sledgehammer fail. Just the weak little, and then and the fact that he says "ow" afterwards.
Right.
Uh, I sang him praises earlier about that character, and I think that that moment sums up what he was doing very well,
Mhm.
and it was quite hilarious, I must say.
Fair enough. I like I said, this episode was full, just chock full of great moments. So I had a hard time picking moment of the night because there's a few lines that I really love. I love James saying, "I'll crouch," and just so defeated in the delivery of it too.
Yes.
I I just freaking love the line, perverts and tuggers want to watch me make my dirt. Like, what?
Nobody wants
That
to
is
watch you, Ma.
that is an insane line. But I think it has to go to Chris Red. Pass. Like just the pause, the lower to the microphone. Pass. Like I just loved it. That was perfect delivery, and just that was the highlight of that sketch.
Oh man, I love how you could go the complete opposite and have, here you have Chris Red saying pass. He doesn't want to
Mhm.
take a turn. And then in the flower sketch, he's all about when's my turn.
Right?
Comes full circle.
Look at him go.
Yeah.
Let's talk about best sketch. What's yours?
Best sketch. Oh boy. This is really hard. This is really hard. But I think it's got to go to Janet. Not Janet, Chucky.
How dare
Why
you?
Why did I reference her? Clearly this is all about Chucky. Sorry, Chucky. Don't come after me. I don't know. Was it like the best sketch ever? Maybe not, but I just love that SNL is embracing new technologies and
Mhm.
and you know really pushing the frontier of what's possible in a week to
Mhm.
bring us this stuff. And you know, just to think of like back when they do like I don't know, they whenever they try to do parodies like that Gilder Radner thing where they try to do like a Fellini short and they spend so much time shooting it and trying to get that style of a filmmaker that like there's almost no comedy in it. Like they never even had time to consider that. Uh,
Mhm.
I just feel like they can do things so fast now that we can get something that's visually, really interesting and impressive in a lot of ways, but still have like a strong dose of comedy in there too.
Mhm.
We're at
Kinda
a
like the, last season, the Shining parody that was just, like, masterfully done, but also very funny.
yeah, yeah. So like form does not compromise content and vice versa
Mhm.
anymore. It's really great to
Yeah.
see. So I think it deserves it for that reason.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I love to applaud an ambitious production, because I like that SNL goes for those, and I can't say enough about how well they pulled that off. Um, as just like for more of like a writing, something that I really liked and something that I really want to like send all my friends, my best sketch has to be Cousins like home makeover show.
Okay, yeah.
because,
That's
because
what
I think it is so funny.
I almost picked that.
Yeah. The cat, from the cat puppet to just all of the layers that I mentioned earlier. Uh and then like I mean that one had some good production stuff too, like the animations and stuff. But yeah, that one, to me, that was easily the standout of the night as far as like my biggest laughs go. So
Awesome.
that's the one.
That's the one.
Let's talk MVP. Who are you giving it to?
Oh man. I think Chris Red has got to get it. He drops into like almost every sketch and uh just almost outside of everything that's happening, he comes in and brings a whole extra flavor to sketches. That's what I love about
Mhm.
this. Like these sketches were, they were what they were on their own. And then I feel like there was just like an extra element added by Chris, something
Mhm.
extra to laugh at that nobody asked for. But now the sketch is that much better.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought about giving it to Ego because Ego was in so much, but I thought Chris made the play. Like the things that he was the best part of so many sketches. Um, he in the cold open he had that moment where he screamed into his glove that was great, and then we had him the pass, which was my moment of the night, and then the flower. Like there was just so much to love and just so many things that Chris was. He made it. Without Chris, the sketch wouldn't have been nearly as good. So Chris Redd, unanimous MVP.
Woohoo!
Let's talk about the big one.
It's backwards.
On a scale of classic, great, decent, weak, or train wreck, how would you rate this episode?
Let's give it a decent. Come on. They did a good job, but let's come on. It's not the greatest outing of SNL ever. I do owe it a lot of praise for, you know, some of the aspirations that were realized. You know, they shot high for a lot of things production wise. On a comedy basis, you know, this is pretty middle of the road at the end of the day. And I do appreciate the extra work they went through to get those laughs, but they've definitely made me laugh with less. And that's not to say I don't think they should have gone through the efforts they did, because I think that's what saved this show from being weak. But yeah, I think they cut it with a simple, decent episode this week.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it leans towards weak as far as some. I just had a lot of qualms about a lot of the sketches, but it gets a decent because there were moments to love, there were things to love, and my God, the effort they put into making something great for us. Can't say enough. So I think it does get to decent. All right. So a decent episode that was ambitious in its decentness. Put a lot of work into it. It was something. Thanks for being here, Steve. It was nice to see you. It was nice to spend a little time, just the two of us again.
Yeah, for sure. And we totally did that on purpose. It's not because anyone we asked wasn't available.
No.
We just decided, just two of us. Let's do it.
Yeah. Said, you know what? I miss Steve. I need a little bit more Steve.
So
let's just have a little one-on-one time. So yeah, before we go, I do want to say real quick that if anybody's in New York City on Thursday at 8 p.m., I will be in a character show called Jinx at Young Ethel's in Park Slope, Brooklyn. So come on out. I'd love to see you.
I'll try to make it.
All right. Well, that is a wrap. Go to bed. Thanks to Steve Finn, and thanks as well to our most generous patrons, Neil Weinstein, Justin Gardner, Grace Kogan, and Brian Clark. If you're enjoying our show, please subscribe on YouTube or wherever better podcasts can be found. Your subscription helps us grow, and your support is greatly appreciated. We'll be back in 1 week when SNL returns with host and musical guest Lizzo. But until then, this has been episode number 158 of the Saturday Night Live Afterparty podcast. I'm Catherine Coleman. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.